It looks and feels like Canada. But this is actually northern New York State, home to Phil Randazzo, an American who is trying to grab a piece of what might be considered Canada's national product.
Now, we think of ice wine as Canadian.
I'm sorry.
Randazzo owns Coyote Moon Vineyards, a family business on the south side of the St. Lawrence River. It takes a special kind of grape to grow here. These can survive in temperatures as low as -35. Randazzo saw opportunity in the cold.
We decided this would be a great venue to try some ice wine as an experiment.
They're one of only a handful of Americans to produce the stuff. Many around the world have tried. In China, you can find counterfeit Canadian ice wine made by mixing wine with sugar. Others use frozen grape juice. Randazzo decided he would make his the Canadian way. He left the grapes on the vine, waited until it was at least -8. Then he and his team headed out into the frigid night and spent hours picking frozen grapes off vines, just like Canadians.
It so happens that the Canadians make really good ice wine. I think it's the same way with us trying to make wine the way the French do, or make port wine the way the Portuguese do. You go to the source of who's doing it superbly, who's doing it better than anybody else in the world, and that's what you model yourself against.
We will have a residual sugar right around 28.
Randazzo processes his grapes just like Canadians do, making sure it reaches specific sugar and alcohol levels mandated by Canadian standards.
I think ours is better.
You think yours is better?
Yeah.
Randazzo's daughter, Christina, who also works in the family business, gives me a taste of the final product.
You're not just seeing the Rieslings or the Vidals, which everybody's doing. You're seeing a Frontenac, which is a red varietal, doing an ice wine, and it just makes it just very rich, full, creamy, delicious, sweet, everything you would want from an ice wine.
Mm-hmm. The price is comparable to some of the more expensive Canadian ice wines, $75 US plus tax. They sold out of their entire production, she says, almost immediately. Seems the thirst for ice wine knows no borders.
This is the location where we built Enniskillen in 1978.
Meet one of the main reasons behind ice wine's international appeal. Donald Zeraldo first started making it in Niagara 35 years ago, along with his partner, the late Carl Kaiser.
In 1983, he asked me to leave 13 rows right up at the front of grapes to freeze. I honestly thought he was a little pazzo, as we say in Italian, that he had too much of his own wine.
Everyone thought they both were a little pazzo. But in 1991, Zeraldo and Kaiser's ice wine won the greatest accolade in the world of wine, the Grand Prix d'Honneur at Vin Expo in Bordeaux.
When the French blessed it, it was like the Pope blessing an Italian or a Catholic. This was the French blessing. You had the best dessert wine in the world.
That's the Queen Mother.
All of a sudden, Zeraldo became a celebrity in the world of wine, hanging with prime ministers and international leaders. And ice wine became a thing, every bit as Canadian as maple syrup, created in the cold by those willing to brave our infamous winters. Ice wine still draws people in today. It remains a key driver of the entire Canadian wine industry, and now the Americans are moving in.
I think, as I say, competition is good.
Del Rollo is well known as a voice of the Canadian wine industry and is part of the company that now owns Enniskillen.
If they're doing things that is innovative and exciting, we keep an eye on those things, and we're very happy to compete with them. From what I've seen and so on, that they still have a ways to go.
Perhaps. Craig Udale, Dean of the School of Food and Wine at Niagara College, says it would take another miracle on ice for America to catch up to Canadian ice wine. But
whenever something like an American business wants to be able to produce a product, we're always worried about them producing this huge, large volume of product. They're able to produce it at a lower price.
Coyote Moon, interesting.
As the man who wrote the book on Canadian ice wine, we wanted to find out what Donald Zeraldo thought of this new American version.
So this is always, oh, wow. Okay, there's a first surprise, the color.
What do you make of it?
It's really dark. Subtle nose, not much in the nose, but then it's cool. sweet. Acidity's not bad. Could be better on the acidity. Different. There's a little bit of bitterness coming to me in the finish. It's just the variety. I'm just not used to it, so it's something that I'm adjusting. So, and of course, telling somebody about their wine is like talking about somebody's children. You got to be really careful.
So, what does he think about the Yanks taking us on at our own game?
I think if the Americans want to challenge us, great. We'll do like the hockey team. We'll beat them, and then we'll become more famous than we are now.
If you had any advice for these newer ice wine producers in the States, what would it be?
In the States?
Sure.
Good luck catching up.
Back in New York, Phil Randazzo doesn't seem worried.
I think if the wine's good, it speaks for itself. Winemakers don't really have a border that they deal with. It's all trying to come up with the best product possible.
That means producing ice wine the Canadian way, only his is made in America. Aaron Saltzman, CBC News, Clayton, New York.
Now, you heard Aaron mention counterfeit ice wines. If you want to make sure yours is the real stuff, just take a closer look at the bottle. Now, ice wine should be spelled as a single word, and there should be a VQA label. The word ice wine is a registered trademark in Canada and can only be used by producers of VQA-approved wine.